Hey everyone, I'm Melanie with Streamlined Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight we're talking about calendars. I know what you guys are doing. You're using one big calendar and you're putting everyone's initials in front of their appointments so we can tell whose initials belong or whose appointments belong to who. This is not good, people. This is quickly becoming overwhelming. And what happens is your calendar doesn't stay a awesome tool that you can use to organize your firm. It turns into a big hodgepodge mess that no one wants to look at and everyone is confused by. And people get heart palpitations looking at the calendar because they're afraid they're going to miss something because it's such a mess. And it's so hard to read when everything is on one calendar and we're just scanning through looking for initials. Where are our initials? Did we miss anything? This is not serving you. There's a much better way to do this. So let's talk about it and let's look at it and let's see why people are doing it this way and how we can improve upon this. So I'm going to take you over to my screen here. So imagine this is your calendar, because I know this is what it looks like. You've got initials in front of everyone's appointments. You can't even see what the appointment is. Thankfully, we can see the word deposition here because it's a 3-hour long appointment. But otherwise, if we have multiple appointments, you can't see what anything is. You hope that we got everybody's initials on there because that's the only way they're going to know if they're going to be involved. And imagine this, because I know yours are like 3 times busier, right? I've taken one morning from one day, but multiply this times 5 days, add the afternoons. Your calendars are getting out of control and they're really not serving you anymore. So I want to suggest to you there is a better way to do things. If you are a solo attorney or there's only one person in your office meeting with clients or making appointments, you can get away with one calendar. But the minute you add a second person meeting with clients or making appointments otherwise, 2 is too many. You need to have your own calendars. And so we're going to talk about, keep in mind, every email system out there pretty much and every practice management software out there that you're going to find does allow for each person to have their own calendar. So I know what you're going to say. People get very nervous when there's a lot of different calendars, but they can work very well together. So let me show you what I mean. And keep in mind, the reason a lot of people don't do this is because they don't know how to share the calendars or they're confused about how the sharing works. Look it up, talk to a consultant, figure out what you need to do to make sure that you can use multiple calendars and that they're working well together. You know, practice management software is a great place to do that because it's automatically built in that way. But even your email systems, if you're using Outlook or if you're using Google, you know, they all come with calendars as well that we can also give other people permission for. So I'll draw your attention to this calendar. So what we've got here is a hodgepodge and a lot of different things that are really hard to see, especially at a glance. What we can do instead is, if the problem here is in this one view, I can't split things out. I, as one attorney or one individual in this firm, I can't figure out what is mine without going through every single one and checking, right? So that doesn't really help me. If instead I now can put my own appointments, and I'm going to go down to a day view just to make this easier for you guys to see things. If instead I can take my own appointments and split them out, now I've got everything that's my responsibility in blue, and then just to compare it to, we have our old firm calendar on the right there. Okay, so now I can see there may be a lot of hearings in the morning, but really only one that I'm responsible for. And then I've got my call later on that day, I've got the firm lunch, and then another hearing in the afternoon. So this makes it really easy for me to pick out exactly what I'm responsible for. Now, as a firm owner or as supervisor, you want to be able to see more than one person's calendar at a time a lot of times, and that's perfectly understandable. So what we can do then is, if everybody's got their own appointments on their own calendars, we're going to get rid of this old firm view and we're going to start looking at other people's calendars, because now they've shared their calendars with me. Now I'm seeing everything that I saw before in that one firm calendar, but it's so much easier to read because now I know what my associate's doing, I know what my client relations specialist is doing, my administrative assistant, myself. I know what everyone's doing, and I can see them right next to each other, right? But now I can see what it actually is. Okay, this is a deposition, this is a hearing, this is our firm lunch. The two of them may be a little late because they're going to be in this deposition. And then they've got training in the afternoon, which of course the client relations specialist might be a little late for because she has the consult. I can see that very clearly. And of course, some of these appointments are going to be shared by more than one person, but it doesn't have to show up for everybody, right? So the associate attorney and the client relations, they're going to be doing this deposition, but the rest of us don't have to worry about it. If we want to see it or we need to see it, absolutely, we can go ahead and take a look. And it's very easy to see. If you're working in a Google Calendar, you can also have a similar view, or you can see them laid on top of each other like we did in the firm calendar. The reality is that this makes it much easier to see because I have the option to break things out. If we're using one calendar, we no longer have that option. And the calendar quickly becomes overwhelming, and we're not using it as the strong tool that it can be for our firms. So I would highly recommend, whether you're using a practice management software, whether you're using your Google Calendar or your Office 365 calendar, whatever calendar it is that you're using, make sure that you're letting each individual use a separate calendar, sharing it across the firm, of course. Figure out how to set up those sharing permissions, and then let's go ahead and be able to use that calendar as the tool that it's intended to be. And don't forget things like conference room calendars, deadline calendars. There's all kinds of great calendars that we can use, again, to sort things out when we need to and when we need to view them that way. But if we're just using one calendar, we no longer have that option, and the calendar becomes quickly overwhelming. So I hope that's helpful for you guys this evening. Please, you don't need initials if you all have your own calendars. So stop drowning your appointments in initials. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.